Any guesses at what I'm about to do here? There's something so satisfying about painting, especially when it's such a small surface area. Alright, one coat on. Hopefully it's just going to take a second coat. So the second coat is pretty much dry. You ready for the big reveal? Oh no. Well, it looks like the paint bled through the tape a little bit along the edge here and everywhere. Hopefully there's a way I can fix that. Maybe it'll just scrape off. Alright, so I'm very quickly getting this with a Lysol wipe, and it seems to be helping, I think. Here we go. No longer a wooden fridge. Looks a little strange with the black and this color here. I never really saw what it was going to look like because this was all covered with the green tape. So the colors look a little strange together, but in my opinion it looks better than the wooden fridge. I managed to clean up all these edges as much as I could, just basically with a Lysol wipe and my fingernail underneath just scraping along. But it definitely took a few minutes to clean that up. It's far from perfect, but I think it looks a lot better than it did. I don't know, what do you think? Wood grain fridge or this black fridge now? If you say wood grain, there's definitely no going back. So I'm working on getting this tin back up on the ceiling just because I'm paranoid and I don't want, you know, the heat from this thing. It's pretty close to the ceiling here. I don't know. I'm worried about the ceiling getting too hot and this place burning down. So I will be putting that back up there. The problem I'm having right now, obviously when I put the tin on the roof, I don't want it flush to the ceiling because the tin's just going to get hot and make the ceiling hot. So I make sure that there's an airspace between the tin and the ceiling. So that's where these come in. I would say they're pretty much 1.5 inch spacers. So that's going to go underneath the tin, and obviously this is going to be flush with the ceiling here. Can't see what I'm doing. And that's going to prevent the tin from being flush against the ceiling. So these screws here get screwed into this thing. Actually, it's going to go this way. And see, what that does is allows you to stick this in through the hole. I can't really see because I'm looking at the camera. And then once that's inside, it's going to open up like that, and it's going to keep it staying there. You see what I mean? Like this will be inside of the hole, and that's going to hold it in place. It's a good time to mention I decided to keep the wood stove. I really can't beat it. It's super efficient. Wood is really cheap. Not saying that I can't also get a diesel heater to throw in here as a backup heat source, but for right now I am obviously going to keep this wood stove. Yeah, you just can't beat wood heat, to be honest. But it is a dirty little brat, there's no doubt about that. So yeah, just to give you an idea of what this is going to look like, obviously the tin is going to be underneath this spacer here. But once you have this screwed into this thing here, it's just going to close up. It's hard to do one-handed here. It's going to close up like this, and then you're going to be able to put this through the hole, and it's going to obviously expand and open up, and keep the screw in place. Good morning. First things first, I have to get the tin up on the ceiling because it was chilly here last night. Got down to about 3 degrees Celsius, and I was relying solely on the furnace. It's just not the same as the wood stove, I really gotta say, so let's hop into it. Alright, that was interesting. That was definitely interesting. But I have the 2 screws in the center here, and the reason that those are there is because when all 4 screws are on the end, the tin droops down a little bit in the center. So I wanted to get those screws in first, just enough to hold it in place. And now I think you can kind of see here what's going to happen. This is going to close together and go up through this hole. And once it's inside the hole, I'm going to screw this in tight so that the spacer is flush with the ceiling. Okay, I didn't really think this one through. I have the first 2 in up here, and I have to do the back 2, but it's gonna be really hard for me to get that back one because now I'm gonna have to try and stick my arm in through here and guide it in without being able to see. Oh, jeez. I'm telling you, what do I get myself into? Well, I managed to get that back one up in there. I don't know if you can see that or not. It wasn't easy, and I spared you from having to see all the awkward bending and reaching, but it's done. Just that last one to go, and then I can tighten these into place. Alright, I think that's as good as it's gonna get. I've got that air space in between. You can see at least an inch, inch and a half, like I said, the size of the spacers really. But you can kind of see the purpose of these center screws, because once I had the 4 spacers in here, it just kind of drooped in the center, and this just kind of brings it up so that it's even the whole way across here. Alright, so the time has come. I need to figure out what I'm doing with the tin behind the wood stove here. Probably remember before I went pretty overkill with the tin. And that's because prior to this airtight wood stove, I had a wood stove that was not airtight. And it got incredibly hot in here. In fact, one time it got above 40 degrees Celsius. So I went nuts sticking tin everywhere because I was afraid that the walls were getting way too hot. I do have a temperature gun though, so I think this time around I'm gonna experiment and do things a little bit different. I don't want to drill a bunch of holes in my wall again, so we'll see how things go. Well, as you saw in the last clip, I was going to attempt to put this thing directly behind the wood stove, but it's way too awkward just because the wood stove itself is already catty-cornered. So to try to put it down here the way I had it, it's just, the corner is, how do I even explain this? I guess the best way to explain it is it has less room on this side and more room on this side, as you can see. So it just wasn't working right. It just wasn't fitting right at all. That's how I had it before, but I also had tin and cement board and spacers back in here. So I'm just wondering, is this really going to get hot back here? It's a good foot away on this one corner. I don't know. Should I just go ahead and put the tin back up now? Or should I have a fire and check the temperature with my heat gun and see where that takes us? I don't think I'm going to put all the tin around here like I had before. You know, this chimney is pretty close here, but I don't think the chimney part right here is going to get dreadful hot, that this is going to get extremely warm. But that's why I'm experimenting to start. I have my temperature gun ready for the first fire, whenever that will be. Just trying to figure out what to do over here. It kind of looks like I might just have to go ahead and put the cement board and the tin back up behind it. Because I don't want all this here on the side, and then there's nothing in behind the wood stove, you know, to deflect the heat. Okay, well, because the last thing I tried didn't work, I am putting, I think they're about 1 inch, 2 inch spacers here, and then I'm putting cement board there on top of the spacers. I'm just screwing them right into the wooden pieces here, and then I'm putting the tin on top of the cement board. I really didn't have much of a choice. I tried just using the black tin in behind here, and it just wasn't working out right, so I am having to put most of this back. But it is what it is. I got holes in the wall again, and probably more dirt and dust that are going to collect behind everything eventually, but we'll get it again in another 4 years. Well, the cement board is screwed back onto the wall back here. This piece of tin is not screwed down, and I might take your advice on something. I'm starting to feel some sprinkles. No sooner did I start doing this, and kind of feels like it's about to rain. That sucks. There's sprinkles on the paint. Might just give it a cool effect, right? Look at the positive side of things. About to do the second piece here. Not sure if I have enough in this can for a second coat on both, but we'll see. Hopefully you can hear me out here. It's a bit windy, but you can tell by looking that some sprinkles hit this tin before the paint did. But I am going to try giving it a second coat. I just don't know if it's going to stop sprinkling. It doesn't feel like it is right now, but as soon as I get that paint can out, you know what'll happen, right? Anyway, that's okay if it looks a little weird. I'm not going for perfection. I'm a total amateur. That was good. I just ran out of paint in the nick of time. I managed to get 2 coats on both these pieces of tin. So once I know they're both fully dry, I'm going to take them inside and install them. Obviously, the 2 of those didn't take this entire can. I just had this sitting around from, last year or the year before. I had it for this thing. Obviously, this needs a redo. Alright, I finally finished that up. Got this somewhat back to rights. Put the roofing tin back here. Unfortunately, I had white roofing nails with the black tin now, but it is what it is. It's what I had, and I wasn't about to run around and get black ones. And obviously, I still have a mess of screws laying on top of the wood stove, but now this is finally done. I am a little upset that now I have an unmatching tin on the roof, but I am not taking that thing down. No way. So this will be the final update of the day. I have a fire going, nice and warm in here. I did go ahead and spray those screws with the leftover high heat paint. So now obviously they're not nearly as noticeable as they were. Looking good. So I opted out of putting the tin here like I had before. I'll try to stick in a picture or a clip of how I had it set up before, I did have tin kind of all around this. Just as a precaution, I guess, for the heat. You know, I'm kind of nervous about the heat on the wall here, especially right behind this pipe. But I do have one of these so I can kind of monitor it. I'm just going to give you an example here. It has the laser pointer and it's showing you 184.8 degrees Celsius. I can also switch that to Fahrenheit. 365 degrees Fahrenheit. So now I'm going to point this at the tin behind the wood stove. 48 degrees Celsius, 120 degrees Fahrenheit. The wall, 34 degrees Celsius, 93.7 degrees Fahrenheit. (34 degrees Celsius, 95 degrees Fahrenheit). So yeah, I don't know, so far so good. I mean, my area of concern is mostly that spot right there. 34 degrees Celsius, 94 degrees Fahrenheit. Obviously it's going to be warm, it's right behind the pipe here, but I don't think it's going to get so hot that this is going to be a problem. I'm not sure. That's why I hauled this thing out. I'm going to monitor it a little more. That's going to be it for this video, so thanks for coming along, and hopefully we'll catch you in the next one. Good night.